Hi, and welcome to eLearning Unlocked. I'm Marielle.
Hi, I'm Julia.
Today we're going to talk about designing better training through learning experience design, LXD. So our podcast is really aimed at e-learning industry professionals, whether you're an instructional designer, you work in an e-learning team or e-learning department, or you're part of, let's say, human resources or marketing. We're really there to bring you e-learning insights.
Yeah, we want to focus on promoting best practices, tips and tricks that you can later on use with your e-learning.
Yeah, so now we'll dive into the topic of today. So better training through learning experience design. So let's talk about how LXD can change the way that brands train and empower their teams.
Great. So actually, let's start from the very first question. What is learning experience design? So it's actually a blend of instructional design, user experience, and engagement strategy, all focused on the learner. So it's a bit of a mix of all.
Yes. And what I love is that it's learner-centric. So I think, we can come at a problem from many different angles. But what here is really important is that we're putting the learning experience very centrally. And we're really focusing on how all of these items basically impact the overall experience that the learner is in.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And I really agree with this one as well, that we can really focus not on the content itself in this sense, but really on the user. And the first question that we have in mind is why traditional training isn't enough. So why we need LXD approach.
Yeah. So traditional e-learning often focuses too much on delivering the information and not on how people experience the learning. So I think this is a little bit the problem as well, where you might have the technology department that makes sure for example, the platform is put into place. And then there's the individual departments, let's say compliance, that make sure that the compliance training is put into place, and the retail department that makes sure the retail training is put into place. And so as you can imagine, it's almost like a silo approach. And what LXD really promotes is looking at it really from a learner-centric point of view. So actually almost retro-engineering and saying, this is the student, what would they like to see, what would they like to learn, and how would they like to consume that information, rather than going sort of top-down and saying, well, this is what we have and this is what we can give them. And of course, it's going to make for such a much more enjoyable learning experience, because people are very overwhelmed by generic content. And so this is what LXD is really aiming to solve. It's making training personalized and engaging.
Yeah, definitely. And when it comes to how it actually looks like in practice, you tackled that a bit already, but getting into more details now is that it's definitely user-centered.
Yeah.
And it's also made interactive and engaging, as you already mentioned. But in the end, it's also about the fact that it emotionally resonates with the users. So they can really, see the design as part of their learning journey and not just plain text, but to really create a feeling out of it, like excitement, pride, curiosity, commitment. So you're really building the e-learning around those emotions.
And we've said that before on this podcast, and we'll say it again. But of course, making sure that there's like an emotional impact will really help with knowledge retention, and really will help the learner connect emotionally and therefore psychologically to the learning content.
Yeah, definitely. And if you really connect that with some interactive gamification elements, then you have it all. It's that simple.
So why does it matter for brands? So this is, I guess, a good question that we can discuss a little bit. Of course, LXD helps employees connect to brands' values, mission, and products on a deeper level. So this is, of course, really important, right? Because we don't want to just be sharing knowledge. We really want to make sure that the learning is a branding exercise.
Yeah, definitely. And that it then builds more confidence and loyalty around the team members as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, so it's so important.
It again refers to the emotional part, but we just really, point out that it's an important part of learning process. That's for sure.
Absolutely, because you just want your retail teams, of course, to believe in the product that they would be selling as well. Yeah.
And I would say that one more thing why it matters for brands is that actually LXD ensures consistent learning experiences across different locations. So it really makes the content engaging and really keep the learners interested in the delivered content, right?
Absolutely. And this really allows them to then become more confident, more capable, more loyal teams. And especially when they are customer facing, right? Their experience with the brand is a direct touch point with that brand. And so their employer relationship is going to shine through when they then communicate the quality of the brand to their customers. So if you manage to establish a very trustworthy, good relationship with your teams, and you see that you offer quality service also to them, they're going to be able to communicate that better to their clients as well.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree more. So about the next part, we'll now discuss how brands can start applying LXD, and we have a few examples. So first of all, you start with your learner, right? As you mentioned,
absolutely.
It's user-centric approach. So first you really look at your learner, your audiences, and decide what do they care about?
Yeah.
What's their they like? What's the main point that you want to achieve with this learning? And what are the pain points, right?
Yes, absolutely. That's really, really key. Really understanding that. I mean, not just saying, okay, this is who it is, but really thinking about that and stopping for a moment. I think, again, it's just, of course, it is a checklist on someone's desk to make sure the e-learning goes out. But at the same time, you really want to make sure that the actual end product matches with the business needs.
Yeah, and I think it leads us to the next point that we wanted to mention is actually defining clear learning goals. So not just they need to know this, that we already mentioned before, but how they'll use it in the real world. So
absolutely,
by some real use cases, it's, simply easier to be presented, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's really important that they can kind of take that knowledge and that learning experience and really apply it in their day-to-day life, in their job. And so ideally, it will immediately cause a shift for them, a positive shift towards better understand the product or better understand the sales process or better understanding the company culture. And so that's really what you're looking for with this experience.
Yeah, and I think what's also important is to make it immersive. So then you really introduce different stories, different scenario-based learning approach, and also short videos to really support the content that you're presenting to the users. And at the same time, also make it, for example, mobile friendly to really know that it's adjusted to the environment they're working with. There's a couple of points that matter here, but in the end, it's just about making it really interesting and visual, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of, really, how can you apply LXD? It's really start with the learner, define the learning goals, making sure it's immersive, personalizing the experience, and then just test and iterate, right? Really keep checking in with the community. What was the feedback? What were some of the favorite parts? What was not working or what was working? And just keep going from there.
Yeah, exactly. That's a very good point about lessons learned in a sense.
Yes.
So you can always start with something, but without the evaluation, you cannot really understand the outcomes. So we really encourage you to evaluate the LXD that you apply. Yeah. Thanks for listening to today's episode of eLearning Unlocked.
Yeah, we really hope you enjoyed it. And I think the key insight for today, if we have to summarize it, is that really LXD is not just about delivering information. It's really about creating engaging, learner-focused experiences that make training stick and that transform your employees into true brand ambassadors. So I think that's really the key takeaway.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't really matter what business you're in, what kind of specific audience you have. It's just that you need to understand the business goals and the audience. And then just start investing in designing learning experiences that truly resonate with your people. And in the end, you will see the outcomes.
So if you found today's episode valuable, don't forget to subscribe or leave a comment as well. Happy to hear from you. And we'll be back with more ideas to make your training more effective and more impactful.
Thanks a lot for listening.
Have a great day.